Welcome to the Grip Strip Podcast, episode 94 and a half uh, version here because episode 94, which is on the way, was a NASCAR roundtable with your hosts here on this show, and we had a couple of special guests. So if you've listened to that, you already know. If not, myself, Josh, and Clayton Caldwell of Talking in Circles fame and
Phil Spain.
frontstretch.com, and then Phil Spain. I got rid of the paper that pitboxpress.com. There you go, I remembered.
Yep.
And social media influencer were our guests, and we had a very spirited and lively discussion on multiple topics in regards to 2021 NASCAR Cup Series season and some 2022 topics, which, to be fair, we'll go and get into briefly here on this episode before we talk about Xfinity trucks in the next episode, episode 95, and whatever else comes to mind. Tonight's episode will be the Roundup. You know, we always have to have the Roundup. So we'll lead with that. There's been some news in the lower formulas for Formula One and for Formula Two, Formula Three. There's been some other adjustments, changes there. We'll talk about IMSA. There's been some news in regards to the Penske Porsche program running their initial test. The Chili Bowl Midget Nationals has been going on this week. Has been a Keith Coons Motorsports benefit in regards to the A features so far and who's qualified to make the A feature on Saturday night to possibly beat Kyle Larson, stop him from winning 3 straight races. The Dakar Rally is officially over as of earlier today. So we'll get into that briefly. And then the news of IndyCar, 2 big news items. We'll talk about the NFL in detail with the playoffs. We'll talk about coaching and GM news. Josh is very invested in one particular coach and hopefully GM move. Um, we'll get into Josh's sim segment and the show close. So, my name is Philip Matthew, and of course, with me as always is my co-host Josh Fine. What's going on, man?
Yeah, doing good. On camera, I think we both got blue shirts on, so somehow
Yep.
we managed to match. But yeah, we'll talk about everything that we didn't talk about with episode 94. Get into it, especially F1, some changes there. IndyCar, the news with Robert Wickens and Connor Daley. It's a good thing. And then we'll talk about the possibility of Byron Leftwich getting a job with the Jacksonville Jaguars for the second time as a coach, possibly. We'll see what happens.
He was their number one pick many years ago as a quarterback out of Marshall, and he played for them for a few years. I'm trying to remember who the coaches were back then, but you probably know better than I do, Josh. But it would be
Yeah.
interesting to see that. I mean, now there's only one African American head coach uh,
Currently, it'll
currently,
improve.
so
Yeah.
the hope would be that that would actually probably go up to maybe 4 by the end of this cycle, maybe 5 or 6 even. But I would think just getting to 1/8, 11%, which is still not great. Um, I think the combination of coaches and GM hires might at least turn that number around in a positive manner, even though a bunch of white people are team owners. But that's beside the point, I guess. Um, we'll talk about all that. I don't sound too great. Uh, I guess the vid is still exists after a couple of weeks of fighting it, and then I was good for a couple of days, and then I don't know, probably the bowling alley happened again, and people I'm around, but hopefully I'll be all right. If you drink enough stuff, maybe you'll be okay. So that's what my goal is. Let's start with um, let's start with Formula One, man. I mean, Formula One itself, talks of the Aston Martin team actually made an announcement. They are Otmar Safnow or whatever, who was a whining bitch and just generally useless, uh, went and left to probably go to Alpine's Formula One team. And then they got former BMW motorsport boss Mike Crack, which is just a great name for so many reasons. Is going to be their new team principal to take the Stroll F1 team hopefully to the next level. They're playing, Lawrence Stroll said in, I guess, multiple articles. You have Adam Cooper's article on Motorsport. You have Chris Medlin's article on Racer.com trying to get from year 2 of their 5-year plan. So in their mind, by 2025, they're looking to be in world championship contention. Of course, by that point, Sebastian Vettel will be out of Formula One. So will Lewis Hamilton. So they're probably looking at somebody to get in that one seat to be with Lance. But that's big. Otmar Safnow likely is going to move over to the Alpine team that was rumored a few months ago. And there's been moves, changes within their team structure to where that position basically is open now. So that'll be something. Aston Martin also announced they're the first team that's announced their car reveal for 2022. Of course, we'll see where the rest of the teams come up at that. Trying to go and see what else. The Formula 2 and Formula 3, there's been some moves. Red Bull driver development group have their teams announced. Red Bull, the F3 champion Dennis Hauger will combine with Jehan Zaruvula from India to drive for Prema. Prema's been home of many of the recent champions in F2 and F3. So, of course, Hauger won F3. Logan Sargent ran for the Prema team and almost won the championship. Daruvula leaves Carlin. Jack Crawford will move to the Prema F3 team. And then he'll join Artur Leclerc and then rookie Ollie Bierman. And then you have Yuri Vips, Liam Lawson, and Ayumu Iwasa, the Japanese Honda supported driver. Vips is going to stay with High Tech. Lawson moves from Carlin to High Tech. So 2 full teams will have Red Bull drivers. Jack Doohan is out, it looks like, from the Red Bull camp, which seems kind of weird since he finished second last year and in F3, but that'll be interesting. So more or less all their drivers, Trident, Prema, and Carlin will house their drivers next or this year. I say next year, this year. Other than that, I mean, we've had news stories, Formula One. You're talking about, some of the articles about the new car, what to think, who's going to be around. George Russell on Formula One .com said that he feels like it's really going to be a driver development, or not driver, but it'll be a development fight amongst 5 teams for this year compared to what it has been, which has been 1 or 2. But what do you think, Josh? Do you really think that? I mean, you can what do you think about the Aston Martin move and the likely Alpine move first with those team principals? They announced there's also the other aspect. I don't want to. We should mention that they're doing a investigation they announced that they're doing an investigation on how the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix was handled, and it's only going to be the findings and results are only going to come like 2 days before the Grand Prix of Bahrain, which is
Yeah,
ridiculous.
two
But
days before the start of the season, basically the
yeah,
first race. Actually, they'll have already been there, and they'll probably be doing first practice one or free practice one and everything, and they make that announcement. So it's a, I mean, I guess it's good that we're going to hear from it, but I mean, you would have liked to get a quicker analysis for it. You know, like right now would be a good time, or even a month from now. Still a month from the season, at least before preseason testing, I guess. You'd
yeah.
like to hear more from it, but I mean, that's what it is, I guess, and we'll just have to wait and see what the verdict is and everything. And I don't think it changes really decisions, for Lewis. Of course, there's the retirement rumors and everything, and if he comes back, I mean, I think he will. I think he wants to race in this new car, and then getting getting the shaft like he did, I guess, in a way, with the way that this ended. I'm sure he wants to go out and prove it again, and come back with an even bigger vengeance, or well, not vengeance, but of course, just come back bigger than what he did in 2021. So we'll see if that happens. And then of course the team principal changes. Aston Martin swapped out their team principal, Otmar. I can't
Saf
pronounce
now. Saf
Saf
now.
now. Okay, yeah, Saf now leaving. Mike Crack leaving or joining the team. We'll see if that's a positive change. Of course, I mean, I guess Otmar Safner had been there for a while, and at least for their time as at Aston Martin. Now we got this new guy, and we'll see if it makes a change and if it affects their pace, and if they're able to be a better contender. Of course, when they were, when they were pink Mercedes, Force India, they seemed to have good pace and everything, but they had a couple of chances. They had one win with Sergio Perez in his final season with them, but then they kind of, I guess, fell off even with the addition of Sebastian Vettel, veteran, of course, and we question his commitment to the series and how well he wants to actually do. But we'll see if that's a positive change. And then, of course, Alpine, they changed their director, Marcin Budkowski, immediately, and been there since 2017 and worked with Ferrari and McLaren and everything, and then worked also with the governing body. I mean, even though they won a race last year, it seemed like they were one of those teams that could always find themselves to get somewhere into the points with either Esteban Ocon, of course, getting their one win, and Fernando Alonso, of course, got that fourth at that same race at Hungary, and then later on in the year got a podium for the first time since 2014. Even with all those positives, they still would like to improve as a team or make a change, and they can replace this guy. So it's going to be an interesting change there too, and of course, does this help Alonso? Of course, he's also going to be coming back from his own surgery, and we'll see how that affects him, his recovery going into the season. If affects his track time, especially with testing coming up and all that. So it'd be interesting to see if they are able to, have more contention. I guess if they can compete on the pace that AlphaTauri can compete, and even maybe up into the ranks of like McLaren and Ferrari, that would be an interesting change there if that's able to happen. And then I think there was an article about Nico Hulkenberg. He was testing the 2022 car, and he still has concerns about the ability to pass in the car. That's going to be interesting to see if they can really follow each other, or if it's only going to make a marginal difference at the end of the day. Once teams figure stuff out, once they put in their own setup and they engineer the cars, is it going to change from the initial data and technical stuff that they did to design the car and everything? It was supposed to be a car that passes well, or at least has the ability to increase passing, especially with lower downforce and using the same type of aerodynamics that ground effects are. So that's a interesting take on that. And if they're able to pass, I think more frequently throughout the field, and the battle for the lead is a little bit closer at some of these races, especially some of these street course races that there really aren't a lot of passing at, especially like Australia, even even places like uh, Baku, even that's a fast racetrack. I mean, the lower downforce is going to increase the speed, and then you're going to have to really send it into the corner to make a pass there. So that's going to be interesting. But I mean, I think it's still early on, of course, in the off season. We still haven't gotten to testing yet, and we're not really going to see any indication of what the car is going to handle or race like, until we see it in practice form.
Yeah, we don't really know what anybody has at the moment. We won't. We could. You could make a case of we really won't know what anybody truly has until FP1 at Bahrain. But it's not the whatever they start with at the first test. There's going to be a lot of movement, a lot of development within their cap. Everyone the cost cap to go and try to get better because it's an opportunity year, and it might be the first opportunity since 2014 for a lot of teams to really put themselves up there uh, and really make a case to compete. For McLaren and Ferrari, of course, they want to get back up there. For Mercedes, they want to maintain or improve, even though they won another constructors title. You have new driver and George Russell there. You have certain teams that have made driver changes. Of course, Alfa Romeo has two new drivers. You have Bottas and Guan Yu Zhou. Williams will welcome back Albon because they'll get the Red Bull money. Red Bull now controls the Honda power plant, and they're going to have the same groups there. Outside of that, I'm trying to think: is there any other drivers? But we'll see it testing, I guess. I mean, but there will be sandbagging too. Um, from some of the teams. But I just have a feeling that Ferrari and McLaren are gonna do all right in the test. Will that actually mean they're back for sure? Guess we'll find out in a couple months' time. Uh, let us get into IMSA. I mean, I talked about the Porsche thing, 2023 LM DH or whatever the heck they want to call it. Whatever the hell they call it. I mix myself up half the
And
time.
it's
LMDH,
LMDH,
yeah.
Le Mans
So
Daytona Hybrid.
yeah. So they didn't test the car with the spec hybrid system, but in essence, the car and power unit and is what they're going to be working with. And they had Fred Makowicki driving the car. It looks very clean. They uh, so styled it based on the old 956. It's which was one of the greatest sports cars or sports cars ever. So that'll be a good selling point for people that are looking at it as a customer entry in the IMSA series and in WEC. Um, That'll be interesting to see how that goes. Of course, Dane Cameron and Felipe Nasr will be running the LMP in the LMP2 category this coming year in the WEC as prep for the program here in the United States. I would figure that those two guys and Dane Cameron would be the lead dog here in the US. Felipe Nasr would be the lead dog in the World Endurance Championship. Cars, because I don't know if they're going to be. I think it's very logistically virtually impossible to have the drivers go and do all of the. I mean, you'll probably do Le Mans. You'll do a couple other ones that they'll cross over. You're not going to do 10 hours in a WEC car and then go and like a day or two later go and do 12 hours in at Sebring. I think that's a bit extreme. But there's different things that come from the that test, but it's only the first test. We haven't seen everything yet. I mean, it's only just the tip of the iceberg with that. And there's going to be more cars testing, more opera because I mean, the fact is, Josh, I don't know. I think this year is a great year to watch IMSA because there's so much transfer, so many things transferring over, so many GT3 cars that are out there. So the variety of GT3 cars for the GT Daytona category, both in Pro and Am, is very unique and cool. New cars like the M4 BMW coming in. They're gonna have line YouTube Fortet. Yeah, so I mean, just as few days ago, they announced Connor D. Filippi, John Edwards, Augusto Farfus, and Jesse Krohn. The number 25, the number 24, Carla Philip Bang, Sheldon Vanderlinde, Marco Wittman, and Nick Yellowy. That's a new guy. And that was like 3 days ago, and the greatest name ever because you can get yourself really Michael. I'm going to say it this way because Josh said it, and I heard it, in a way that's fucked up. So I'm going to say Michael Crack. He was part of the announcement, and they quoted him in the article 3 days ago on Racer, and they were talking about this new lineup. The 24 hours of Daytona is going to have 61 cars, and which is insane to think. I mean, going back in the day, even back when prior to Josh being around, and I was just a little kid. They used to have 70 plus cars, in the high 70s, early, low 80s in regards to car count. But of course, 3/4 of them would be broken down by sunrise or whatever. And you just have the walking wounded, and then the cars that are actually competing for the win. That was a different time. Rules were a little more open back then, but to have 61 cars amongst 5 classes, excuse me, is really, really huge. I mean, there's only Acura and Cadillac in the DPI category. 5 Caddies versus 2 Hondas. Acuras, I mean. LMP2 as
All
8
Orecas.
Orica 07s amongst the 8 teams. Then you have uh, have LMP3. You have GTD Pro, 13 cars out of there, and then GTD, which is basically the meat of the whole entire deal. I mean, I'm just looking at. We'll go over this more in a couple of weeks' time. This is just the list for the Roar for the week before the Rolex, so that's next week. There will be qualifying for pole and certain, I guess, pit position and whatever other stuff, which will be interesting. We'll definitely get into it more in the week before the Rolex. We'll give results, of course, of this in regards to qualifying and all that, and talk about it. And I mean, I think the great thing is the amount of GTD Pro cars that are out there, and the level of uh, talent. Oh, look at that! I didn't even know that frickin' Gumby is driving in a
Yeah.
GTD Pro car. Look at that.
Yeah, for Proton USA, and driving Mercedes AMG GT3. So That's gonna be an interesting lineup there. I mean, and you talk about just the amount of cars in GTD Pro, because normally this is the class that I mean, you can always count on the two Corvettes and BMW with Rahal Letterman Lanigan, but I mean, otherwise it's kind of always been a thinner class,
Yep.
especially with this class. It's been thinner, but now that we have more entries, it's going to be hopefully a more competitive race, especially in this class.
Yeah. I mean, this is gonna. I mean, the Corvettes. I'm not sure how competitive they'll really be. They had to BOP their C8R, so I don't know. I mean, they'll be competitive. Chevy, the Francis and Chevy are in bed together anyway. Um, what are the star drivers? I'm trying to understand that. I guess are they full season?
Oh, the asterisk means that it's indicating a driver has been designated for the qualifying race. So
Oh, okay. Good,
so
good call on that.
yeah, Jordan
Um,
Taylor and Antonio Garcia qualifying for Corvette racing. Maybe Jordan Taylor can find some time between his shorts that he's doing for Junior Motorsports and go
yeah,
qualify the car.
yeah. That's. I mean, he is a great. He's an interesting human. He has. I mean, he's like a number one Jeff Gordon fan with the Rodney Sandstorm stuff, and now he's doing junior stuff. So I don't get how he hasn't gotten in a NASCAR Xfinity car yet, but I guess that might be coming next. Because if he's doing all these bits for Junebug, yeah, I mean you got that's a solid group there. I mean Kyle Kirkwood's a silver. That's kind of funny. Um, but other than that, I'm looking at everybody else like platinum or gold. There's only one other silver or two other silvers. I mean, of course, Cooper McNeil being one of them in the Porsche, and then he'll be running a Mercedes as well. He'll be in two cars, just like in trying to remember his name in 52. Ben Keating is going to be running in two cars during the actual Rolex. So that'll be something. Yeah, the LMP3, some there's regular guys there. Then, but 22 entries out of the 61 will be out of the GTD category, and nice variety of cars there. Um, Astons, BMWs, Mercedes, Lambos, McLarens, Acuras, Porsche, and Ferrari too. And yeah, I mean we'll get into it more in a couple weeks' time. Get a little bit more details, of course, with the qualifying races and how that determines everything. Want to watch it on IMSA.com? I'm pretty sure it'll be out there. And yeah, that's it for the IMSA side. The Chili Bowl, get into that here. It's been, as I said earlier in the open, the Chili Bowl has been a Keith Coons benefit this week in regards to the feature winners. And to be fair, when you consider um, you're able to bring the kind of talent that you're bringing to the table every year, it's hard to not pick a Keith Coons car unless you're Kyle Larson. But so far this week, Christopher Bell returning back to uh, Keith Coons Motorsports. He won on Thursday night. Rico Abreu, my spirit person, won another Wednesday night. Buddy Kofoid, the USAC midget champion, won and beat uh, Kyle Larson on Tuesday, and then Tanner Carrick won the one on Monday, So Keith Kunz Motorsports so far has swept the Knights. I'm not sure in regards to what the situation is for the um, the A feature right now. Of course, Richard has locked in for the pole for the A feature, and for now, so I think yeah, he's the A feature. He has the pole, so he has a really good shot to get his car into the show on Saturday night in the A main. You have other names that are familiar, at least on our side. I probably need to bring Josh Bolden, JB, on, and he could give us more info on some of these gentlemen. But No Neck is in the A for tonight, or at least in tonight's A feature, with a chance to possibly advance to the top two and get into Saturday night's A feature instead of having to go and run the soup. Candy Kane, who's going to be running full time in the World of Outlaws in 2022, is also in the A feature. And then they have um, two B features that are coming along. But Keith Gooden's Motorsports versus Kyle Larson is basically what it is. Kyle Larson going for three in a row. Christopher Bell, who's a three-time winner, trying to um, join Kevin Swindell as a four-time winner of this race. And, Sammy Swindell got DQ'd on Thursday night to the point where he's going to be in an N main. The qualifying on Saturday morning starts at 9:15 in the morning, Tulsa, Oklahoma, in Tulsa time, with Q features. So the fact that Sammy Swindell, a five-time winner of the Chili Bowl, is basically not only having to run the soup, he's gonna have to drink the soup. He's gonna have to do any number of things with that effing soup to possibly backdoor his way into another A main in the Chili Bowl, which there was a point for many years that they were guaranteed, the Swindell family, both Sammy and Kevin, to get to the A, and that they had the best cars in the um, whole center there, the River Spirit or whatever the hell, the dome where they run this whole deal. But now I think not only Keith Kunz Motorsports, but other teams have come along. The Stenhouse Clausen Marshall team. You have the old the Chad Boat team. There's other efforts that have all kind of copied and taken their cues off of the Swindells. And of course, Sammy Swindell is much older now, probably not as fast as he used to be. Um, and then, of course, with Kevin's serious injuries, he's been out of the seat, or he's now just an owner and kind of a tuner. And so they probably lost something there too. But we will see what Slam and Sammy can do from basically the Boondocks to get into the Chili Bowl main event. I mentioned the Dakar Rally earlier, and that has, oh wow, root beer float head got a concussion after a wreck at the Chili Bowl. Okay. They spoke to Dylan Welsh as well, the Joey Barnes, former guest here on the GSP, um, covering the race for racer.com. So good to see him there, back where he belongs, really, being out there on the at the races, going and covering them for a big media outlet. We will talk about, was it Nasser Al-Attiyah, who's now won his fourth Dakar Rally and first in the Middle East. Beat multi-time World Rally champion Sebastian Loeb for that. And the SSV category saw American Austin Jones win by 2 minutes 37 seconds, which when you consider the kind of rally a Dakar rally is, to win it under under 3 minutes is insane. So cool to see that. Ricky Brabeck, former winner, the American on the Honda, struggled this year. Opened up the door for former winner Sam Sunderland to win for the Gas team, which Justin Barshow is riding for in the Supercross category last year. And just as a aside, Ken Roxon won A1 for the Honda team, so that'll be interesting if he can carry that momentum through the whole entire year. There's other people, I don't even know who those quads and trucks and all that, so that's fine. Get rid of that and get rid of that. So we'll get in the IndyCar. The People Ready Force for Good challenge, which states that if you can win, the first person to win an oval, road course, and street course event will win once a season. She will share 500,000 to her team and donate 500,000 to that driver and team's chosen charity. So it'll be $1 million. Either win a road course and it's a 6 inch. Okay. So it's been likely. Pruitt says that it happened for 6 years prior to last year. Penske's drivers won all 3 times in the season, 4 times in 5 years. So there's that. People raise a 10,000 winner of EV. Oh, so they'll get $5,000 for winning. You'll get $5,000 from people ready to win a race, and then you have $5,000 to donate. So that's pretty cool, Josh. Akin to like the Triple Crown, kind of has a Winston Million feel to it. Maybe more Noble 5 aspect
Yeah.
than Winston Million. But it's incentive when you consider how little these teams are able to make through the purses because of the whatever they call the entry point entry. I think whatever, like they had. It's like a charter in NASCAR get you whatever. It's different in entrant points or entrant. I
Yeah,
think
they have
it's
the
more,
season long points fund or
yeah,
whatever it is.
and they
Yeah.
fund. That's what funds a lot of these teams too. They basically run on that guaranteed money to get through. So it's a welcome change. It's a sponsor that Takuma Sato had at the Indy 500 last year, trying to win his third. Um, I think so. And the other two pieces of news, we had Connor Daley get announced as the full-time driver of the 20 car in IndyCar. The last full-time ride was they went back and went with a solid person that they have a lot of knowledge with, somebody who's been running the road courses for the last few years. And now Connor Daley will get his first full-time opportunity in IndyCar since he drove for Foyt, which is good news. Ed Carpenter will run Indy, of course, and probably the other two ovals, but we have to hear about the other two ovals from the owner of the team. But I think the one piece of news that matters the most to me and to a lot of motorsports fans is after what I think Pruitt said was nearly 1,000 days out of the race car in a competitive setting, Robert Wickens will be back in a competitive setting in a race car racing the Michelin Pilot Challenge for Brian Hurd Autosport and their Hyundai program, the Elantras, which is with hand controls, and they're a team that has worked with Michael Johnson, who is a armed forces veteran who had a severe injury to his legs, and then he was able to get the artificial legs, and in turn, he was able to put himself in a position to compete. And he's been a contender ever since that team. He joined that team, and that team's a powerhouse. Brian Hurd, of course, taking care of his son in IndyCar as the a strategist, but his actual team is thriving. That category thriving, and he's winning a lot. So the I mean, you can go and kind of touch each one if you want, Josh, but I mean, Robbie coming back is just amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible to see him come back. I mean, we'd love to see him come back in the IndyCar, but I mean, I think at this point, it's likely not going to happen in a competitive setting. Maybe we'll see him come back in a test if they ever figure out how to fit hand controls onto the current IR18 race car for him to use and test at a racetrack. That'd be really incredible if they're able to do that. But still being able to get back into a GT class, get back into IMSA, race with Brian Herta Autosport. It's really incredible. He's gonna be able to do this. We've been following him since his accident. Of course, I was already following him, but like when his accident happened, it was a really terrible accident, and probably what led to IndyCar quitting Pocono, of course, and everything. But it's a different discussion, everything. But his recovery, everything he's had to go through, from being in a wheelchair to where he is now, and he's not totally functional as far as being able to walk like on his own, but he's able to still relatively move around when he can, and he's been training hard at it. But now he's back into a race car. He's going to have hand controls, and his co-driver, when he gets in, is going to have a chance to turn off the switch for the hand controls, give back the gas and brake pedal and clutch. So that's a really interesting innovation, something that's already been done, and now they're going to do it for Robert Wickens here. So just incredible comeback, of course, and kind of fits, I guess, being a former Schmidt Peterson guy. That this happened to Sam Schmidt many years ago at Disney World in 2000, and now he's able to. I mean, he's still paraplegic, but there's a few years ago he had that thing with Aero Electronics and getting in the Corvette that was fitted for him that he could drive around. So that was a good innovation there too. But it's a great positive news that he's back in a race car competitively that we can see, and hopefully he's able to have some kind of success in there, and we love to see it. But Connor Daley, of course, that's a good development too. A good driver in the 20 car full time, and he'd been already in the car, running ovals, some road courses as well. I mean, last year and the year before was in Carlin on the road courses, and then in the
He was in ECR's car in a road.
ECR.
Yeah, you swapped him.
Yeah, okay. So I saw him. Yeah, I saw him. So, because that was Carpenter's car in the ovals. But yeah, Carlin in the ovals, and then ECR in the road courses. Now he's on one team full time, so a lot of stability there, and certainly gives him a shot to go have a full time effort that he can be around with, especially when it comes to the Indy 500. Was probably the best car last year. I mean, no, it depends a lot on the car, but when you're around your guys constantly, that is a good thing for a driver like that. That's shown he can be competitive, especially on the oval tracks. So that's good news. And then you touching on the purse thing, the points fund, or to donate $1 million, 500,000 going to the I got the wrong tab up, but yeah, 500,000 going to the team and then to the driver and chosen charity. That's a good thing, and it's a different, I guess, monetary challenge than what we've seen before, but at least it's going to something positive, something that you have to be bigger than yourself to do, and certainly that you have to rise up to the challenge and be able to do. And I guess it's different than in the past. We had the Triple Crown for Indy was always going to be the big super ovals, and you had Indianapolis. I mean, back in the day, it was Ontario, and then Michigan, Pocono. Yeah, and Ontario was part of it, I think, too.
Yeah,
for a bit, yeah, originally, and then it turned into Michigan, uh, Auto Club in Indianapolis. Although I think that was more on the kart side. Although I think they still did race a little bit at California, but then it turned into California, Indy, and then Pocono until
Yeah, a few years
2015.
ago. Yeah.
So they got rid of
The
it all.
yeah, the more recent one they did was ACS or Indy ACS Pocono when they brought it back for a couple of years. Back in the day, like you said, Michigan, Pocono, and Indy were the Triple Crown because they're the three 500-mile races. Um, so now, I mean, it's a road course centric series. It always really has been. There was more oval availability back in the day, but when you look at SMI and ISC or whatever they want to call themselves because they are combined in one company, they've kind of monopolized all the ovals to where IndyCar is kind of stuck. Texas is a perfect example of that.
Yep.
Um, and when it comes to this uh, deal here, it it gives value to everybody, no matter what team you are, especially if you're a competitive effort, to want to go out there and try to win one of each. Um, I mean, Penske's the most likely first team to do that with Joseph Newgarden, I would think. Um, Outside of that, I'm not really sure. I would personally like to see Pat O'Ward do it because of my fandom, but there's a few guys. Who do you think in regards to that, bonus? Who do you think is somebody that we should be looking at, maybe at Ganassi or Andretti?
Well, I mean, the first person I think of right now is probably Alex Blow. He had a lot of success last year, of course, and like to see if it translates to next year. Start out at St. Petersburg, so right away, first chance to get a street course, and then you go to Texas immediately after that, and then Long Beach, and then Birmingham, or uh, at Barber Motorsports Park.
Baba.
So yeah, Baba is lead, if he likes to say, in Birmingham, Alabama. But right away you have those three tracks. So good opportunity. If you get off the hot start at St. Petersburg, then all you gotta do is just have good car at each of the next three or two of the next three races. So it's going to be interesting if Pelot can do it, especially coming off the season title from the year before. That would show he's ready to defend his title, and it's not just a one off or anything like that. And maybe Andretti, I mean, possibly Colton Herta, maybe Rossi could be in that as well, but that's more dependent on if Rossi comes out of the gate strong. If he comes out flat, you probably write him off. But I think Colton Herta is still pretty hot from last year. And you've talked about it before, the need to be more competitive or consistently competitive for Colton Herta, especially on ovals, something for him to focus on. So I'd like to see if he's able to challenge up for that Triple Crown challenge, something good that we hopefully continues on beyond this season.
Yeah, and you can never count out Dixon. Um, he's won on all of them. He's won all of them a lot. So would that be a nice driving force for the guy to go after championship number 7, getting into that historic racing category of 7 championships, uh, which not only is in NASCAR and Formula One, but IndyCar with AJ Foyt. So that might be a driving force there, as much as trying to go and get that elusive second Indy 500 win. So that's something we will see. I mean, and I wanted to go back to the whole Robbie situation and very candid to Marshall Pruitt in regards to where he is and his likely scenario of what his life is going to be. But at the same time, the fight and the determination he has shown to be nearly, um, you know, two, like 3 years, 3.5 years from a massive, devastating severe life-changing injury to now being able to race. Um, Teammate is Mark Wilkins, who's one of the best out there in regards to his driving ability. And it's just like the Michael Johnson situation within that team. So they have a lot of experience. They have a lot. So you have a guy who's super motivated, who wants it bad, knows he'll be safe and be in a good car, and at the same time, he has a teammate that has been solid for many years and is able to go win. And it's going to be cool to see. Um, Connor making it full time is necessary. Um, Not just because he actually has a personality, but Ed Carpenter should have done that a long time ago. Let us move on to let's talk about
Playoffs.
playoffs. We'll talk about playoffs. Since Indianapolis got fucked in the ass by your Jacksonville Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence looked like his old self. Must have let the hair flow, and just said, screw it, I'll just go throw it all over the yard, and that's what he did. Um, Dismissed the Indianapolis Colts in the 1 o'clock window, which then started a absolute crazy firestorm of events. Um, Buffalo ends up winning it wasn't an easy win for them, but they end up going and winning and in turn getting the division title while the New England Patriots shit the bed against Miami in what ended up being Brian Flores' last game, which still boggles my mind. It's insane. Tells you that the Miami Dolphins are a joke. But then I was around a Miami Dolphins fan and she was happy about it. And I'm like, you're happy about it? When was the last time they had a good coach that actually took them to the playoffs? Like, what was it? It's like, why am I'm trying to remember the last. Oh, probably that Tony Sperano,
Tony Sperano.
but then I'm trying to
2000.
remember
No,
who it was.
Adam. Not
Did
Adam Gase. It may have been, or 2016. They made the playoffs. They played the Pittsburgh Steelers in the wild card, and they had a chance. Like, they were good early on in the season, and then Ryan Tannehill got hurt towards the end of the year, and then that led Matt Moore to be the quarterback. And then they got throttled by the Steelers early on in the playoffs. I think Matt Moore got concussed in that one, and then they had to play their third string backup the rest of the game.
Well, that'll do it. Um, there was that. You had the Raider Charger game that with like 30-40 seconds ago was going to be a tie going to overtime, and then the Chargers inexplicably threw a timeout or called a timeout. Brandon Staley did that, and then Derek Carr went and threw a ball or whatever and got him in a closer range to kick a field goal. They did that, eliminate the LA Chargers, and in turn get the Pittsburgh Steelers into the playoffs in a crazy cluster F kind of deal. Buffalo and New England are going to play each other on Saturday night in a playoff game. The Bengals on their usual Saturday 4:30 spot until they finally win a playoff game against the Raiders. Then you have the Buffalo New England game on Saturday night football. Then you have Sunday with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Philadelphia Eagles after Eagles struggled last week or 2 weeks ago when they didn't even show up. They didn't. They sent out the B squad or whatever to go and play that game. Then but they were already in. New Orleans Saints won, but they needed help from the 49ers. And after the first half of that game, I figured they were going to get that help. And Jimmy Garoppolo actually came alive and looked like a professional quarterback. He made all kinds of crazy throws and was able to get he and everybody else on the Niner organization, get them back in the playoffs for the first time uh, in a couple of years, and second time in Kyle Shanahan's tenure. But that was just heart wrenching to watch, and I freaked out and did a remake, I think, of my Tony Stewart last win uh, rant and gestures and all that. Um, and then celebrated, and I went to the freaking V because I couldn't take it anymore. I was like breathing. I was like hyperventilating. I'm sitting there quiet. It was like a combination of like the '05 Brickyard 400 and just the win and uh, all that kind of got to a lot of people. So Niners back into the playoffs, get the 6th seed. They get to play the Cowgirls. That's a rivalry that was there for many years, and the Cowboys were on the better end of it more times than not. Um, my hope is there will be different options or different people there. All right, so yeah, Green Bay, Tennessee, both number one seeds, both beat the Niners close. Last second drive for Green Bay. And then the game against the what am I forgetting? The game against Tennessee was a cluster because they had a 10-0 lead, blew that, turnovers and all, turned that around. And then they lost that, and they were in a position where they could have missed the playoffs if they hadn't beaten the Rams. Now the Rams and Arizona Cardinals will be on the Manning cast, which is interesting, in the final Monday night game of this year. Josh, I'm going to let you go, and you can give us some of your thoughts on the playoff matchups and some of the things we should look at before I kind of go and do my thing on that too.
Yeah, for the first games on Saturday, you've got Las Vegas at Cincinnati, and then you got New England at Buffalo. I mean, the first one, Las Vegas at Cincinnati. This is a really interesting one. There's not really it's not straightforward totally because there have been times this year where Cincinnati wasn't that great. I mean, they even struggled against Jacksonville Thursday Night Football back in Week 4. The infamous Urban Meyer incident game, or prior to that actually. But Cincinnati struggled early in the first half in that game, and then ended up winning last second field goal. But in this game or matchup, you've got Cincinnati had a big win a couple weeks ago against the Kansas City Chiefs. Las Vegas, of course, big win at home against the Chargers to get into the playoffs. They need to get in. All they had to do was tie, and then let it go down in the final minute or the final second to tie or break the tie and win the game. So that's an interesting matchup there. But the Raiders have a good running game, I think. Derek Carr doesn't get enough credit for what he's done this year, weathering the storm, weathering coaching changes and all that. Joe Burrow, great quarterback in his second year, showing what he did at LSU to win that national title back in 2019, 2020 college football season. Got his college teammate, Jamar Chase. You got T. Higgins. You got Joe Mixon. So it's a interesting matchup there. And this one could either go, could go either way. So we're going to see, what happens and everything. I have a feeling that Cincinnati does not win the playoff game because, and I'm going to go in the storylines here, the conspirational aspects of it. I got a feeling that Las Vegas is going to get some calls that go its way. They're going to go sentimental, the officials, especially passing of John Madden, overcoming John Gruden. And we could see some things going their way. I mean, it's kind of weird, and I'm only basing this off of the last game in the regular season against the Chargers. Just I felt like there were some calls in that game that went the Raiders' way that shouldn't have in that game. But the Cincinnati, of course, the storyline being they have not won a playoff game since 1990. We'll see if Joe Burrow able to go and get that win for them finally. This is why they drafted him number one in 2020 to be able to do that. He's already proven he can win a championship at the college level, so he's got experience doing this already. So that's a good thing. So we'll have to see what happens. Of course, New England, Buffalo, New England, strong team this year. A lot of people thought early on they wouldn't make the playoffs. And then there's also the storylines. Are they gonna go all the way to Super Bowl and face Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl? We'll have to see and if that happens or not. But Buffalo's been pretty good. But the problem with Buffalo, and they also lost to the Jaguars as well. So you got a couple of Jacksonville storylines here. But Buffalo, um, they don't run the ball a lot, and that's a problem, especially in the playoffs, especially in the cold. It's gonna be a night game. It's gonna be cold. They don't really run the ball a lot. They pass a lot, and New England is able to kind of take away what you do best. So on defense, especially, so they're going to give them a lot of looks in the playoffs. We'll see. Is Bill Belichick and his defense? They're going to confuse Josh Allen, put him under pressure a lot, take away Stephon Diggs, and then make them beat them either through the air or on the ground. And maybe they'll make Buffalo actually run the ball this time because they don't do it often enough. We'll see. And then, of course, got Mac Jones, also another championship winning quarterback from college. We'll see if he's able to actually play in this game and pass the ball, because last time, of course, did not pass the ball very much, only passed it 3 times in that game, a month ago in Buffalo. Of course, the wind conditions probably going to be a little bit different here. So we'll see what happens if he's able to pull that victory out. And then Sunday, you got Philadelphia at Tampa Bay. I think I'm going to roll with Tampa Bay here. I think they got a lot to prove. They're getting some guys back from injury. They got Leonard Fournette coming back. Tom Brady, sure he's going to want to prove to get another Super Bowl ring. Just add another ring, so he can hold up 4 fingers with rings on each of those fingers. We'll see if it happens. Philadelphia could be an interesting one. Mobile quarterback Jalen Hurts, and you got Devontae Smith, also teammate from Alabama, playing wide receiver there. That could be an interesting matchup against Tampa Bay's secondary. Then San Francisco, your team at Dallas. We'll see if this is a good matchup. Jimmy Garoppolo, does he got the cojones to go all the way in the playoffs this time? Dak Prescott and Cowboys, Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, the 2 running backs there. They haven't, they've kind of been running back by committee, but Zeke's kind of been injured a bit, so that might affect that matchup. And I think San Francisco's got a good run defense and everything, and they've been able to stop the run pretty well throughout the season. So it's going to be up to Dak Prescott to pass the ball around. They lost Michael Gallup. That's an important matchup there. Still got Wilson and CD Lamb, and still got Amari Cooper on the sideline to be able to pass to. So it's gonna be an interesting matchup, and this is a classic rivalry too, because they've had some big matchups back in the 90s, back in the 80s. The catch. This was the 2 teams that played in the catch game back in 1982. So should be a good matchup. Then Pittsburgh at Kansas City. That's the Sunday night game. That's gonna be an interesting matchup. You got the full speed Kansas City Chiefs. They ran into some speed bumps this year, but then they got on a good winning streak and were able to secure the number 2 seed. Pittsburgh, basically, they basically backed their way into the playoffs. I mean, they won, and then they had to get help from Jacksonville to get in. I did not like that, but that's what it is. We'll see if, going back to the storylines, how far does Ben Roethlisberger go in the playoffs, in his final playoffs? Do they drag the storyline out, past this game? Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, do they stretch the ball, stretch the defense of the Steelers? Steelers always physical defense, and really the offense just been holding them back because, it's very limited with Ben Roethlisberger. So we'll see. And Ben's not even that confident in his own team. So we'll see what happens there. And then Monday night game, got Arizona at LA, LA Rams, that is. And we'll see, LA, they've got to win in order to be able to play in their own stadium in the Super Bowl. Of course, we'll see if that storyline comes out this time around like it did last year with the Buccaneers. Arizona was best team in the league to start the year, and then they fell off after They played the Green Bay Packers, and Kyler Murray got hurt on that final drive to decide the game for that matchup that Green Bay ended up winning. And LA, Matthew Stafford finally getting back into the playoffs with a new team. They got a good defense and everything, but Matthew Stafford is he's either hot or cold. I feel like, and we'll see which Matthew Stafford we get in this matchup. So all these matchups should be pretty interesting. I'm going to pick Arizona in that matchup. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean those are all good picks. Great analysis there. To me, I'll go and give my picks here. With Cincy and the Raiders are two quarterbacks that I do like and respect. I mean, the fact of the matter is, if I wasn't a fan of course, I'm a Trey Lance mark, so there's that. But I'm a fan of Josh Allen, but I'm really a fan of Joe Burrow. The guy's a beast. It kind of is a similar story to what Cleveland had when they had Bernie Kosar. Cincinnati has their Ohio boy who had to leave Ohio, was at Ohio State, was never going to be the guy, transfer portal to LSU, and ends up winning a national title with Jamar Chase. And now they're back together again in the NFL, and they're doing the same shit, which is crazy. Cincinnati hasn't won a playoff game since 1991. The So that means like the year not or like 1990. So yeah, it's been the 1990 season. So 1990 January 91. The Raiders haven't won. I think they haven't won a playoff game since they lost the Super Bowl. So that was in January on my birthday in 2003.
Yep, I
My
remember
eight.
that game.
Yeah, it was a horrible game. That's one of the. I think maybe the first time I ever got drunk. So that was awesome. Um, It was on fucking Smirnoff Ices too, which tells you how bad it was. But it was with friends from we were all, yes, we're just, yeah, it's bad. But John Gruden, that's the reason why John Gruden had relevance for so long before he got canceled by Bruce Allen and the Washington Generals. Um, so that'll be something. There'll be a streak ending for sure tomorrow afternoon and evening. My thinking is the Bengals will go out there, keep their momentum rolling. The Raiders are kind of limited on the back end. They're more of a front line with Max Crosby and Ngakwe. If they can get to Burrow, who knows? The running backs are great on both sides. Uh, Waller, if he's at 100%, could be a huge factor in regards to trying to make the Bengals have to go and spread their defense out. But Burrow's a fucking beast. He won Rookie of the Year, his number one overall pick. It makes sense for what he is. So then it's a case of going and improving around him. The second game is Buffalo, New England. I'm just going to pick Buffalo because I refuse to pick New England anyway. But in turn, I'm also picking Buffalo because when Josh Allen is good, it's really good. He was like the number one fantasy quarterback this year. But when he's bad, it's pretty ugly. Uh, in this spot, they've been there last year. They finally won a game. They got all the way to the AFC Championship game, and then the bottom fell out. Well, trying to go and see if Buffalo can actually finish the job. It has a lot of things in regards to similarities to what the bowling situation is for me, but with some of my teammates and in general. So it's an interesting dynamic for Buffalo fans and what they're looking for to try to finally get that elusive Super Bowl. New England is Belichick going and freezing his ass off and trying to go and win yet another Super Bowl. The Buccaneer Philly game, Philly has a chance. Great run game. Uh, Quarterback situation is kind of whatever, but they're not that great on the passing side. But whenever he throws the ball to Devontae Smith, uh, he's able to make big plays. So I guess if Jalen Hurts can hit one guy, that's really all that matters. But he should be able to go and read a defense and check down or check to the side and take it for another play. And they don't have that. So it is a problem. But we will see. I picked the Raiders. I got that in or wait, did I say Raiders? Yeah. Or
You said
I
you
said
said
no, I had the Bengals and then
yeah,
I said the Bills. So
yeah.
and then yeah, I just I'm gonna have to edit that out. I have to edit that out, so I'm gonna have to go and look for that later. Um, but in regards to Tampa and Philly, it's an interesting one. Bad weather game in Tampa. It's gonna be a lot of rain. People are going down there. Like Colleen, sexy Colleen Wolf, she'll be going down there, professing her fandom for Philly as she always does. But she'll be covering the game, I think, too. And she's not happy at the fact that it's going to be raining. Can that slow down Tom Brady in the passing attack that they have? I mean, akin to their injuries that they've also had too. But Evans will be there. They'll have Brait and a couple other tight ends. They'll have a full complement of receivers, but they won't have Chris Godwin. Philly's the number one rush it offense in the league. Jalen Hurts is akin to like they want him to be Lamar Jackson 2.0 because he can't throw worth a lick and he throws wildly inaccurately but he can hand a ball off and he can run RPOs. That's what they're doing. They're not reinventing the wheel. They're not doing anything great significance. Tampa's got a great defense when they want to be. Um, it all depends, but I think Tampa Bay is going to win that game. I would like to see a different result depending on what happens after that game, which is a Niner Giant game or Niner Cowboy game, and rivalry, as Josh mentioned, and it's first time since the '94 NFC Championship games in 1995. And to be in this spot right now, you'll get Nance and Romo calling the game. It's going to be the slime time game with Nate Burleson and that one kid and whoever else to go and fill a booth. That game, I mean, yeah, if Dallas can run the ball, it's going to be tough. But if they can't run the ball, we can limit them. D'Amico Ryans has definitely been a great find and hire, albeit he was already there. And there were times this year I was cursing him out the same as I cursed out like Bob Sala, but then in my under my breath. In this case, the Jets situation is much different now. Or I mean, the situation is much different now for some of these teams. But we will see in regards to the Niner Dallas game. I think it's going to be close. It's going to be a nail biter. Prescott's good, but closing has been hard. Same thing with Jimmy G. So it'll probably come down to something menial on Sunday. The last game is Kansas City Pittsburgh. Just pick Kansas City. It's Patrick Mahomes. He's the logo. They want him to win. They have the number 2 seed. Because Ben Roethlisberger's arm's a pea shooter too, so it's virtually impossible for me to believe he's going to actually stretch the field or put them in a spot of bother in that secondary of the weaker secondary with Daniel Sorensen back there. So that's something to see if that works or how that works. Um, a Monday night game with the Rams and Cardinals. Niners also Cardinals twice. Niners won against the Rams twice, including the Week 18 game to get us into the playoffs. Um, I don't really know. I mean, that's a toss up in my mind. Your two best teams in that division, but in the end, you don't have a playoff spot either. So it's something to see what if the Rams can respond after what happened last week to them, or if the um, if the Cardinals can actually respond after a few poor weeks of, converting, working, etc. Um, but I'll actually go with the Rams and hope that yeah, everything else goes a certain way to where I would be the seed, would go and change the situation there. So that is it for the coaches. Josh, I know you have full investment in regards to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So let us know what you're seeing, what you're looking for, and also what the Jaguars ended up uh, doing in regards to their coach and all that, and also the draft situation here coming up in a few months.
Yeah, of course, have invested into the Jaguars coaching situation and everything. And I mean, it looks like so. Let's start with this. The source that I trust, the only source that I trust for the Jaguars is, of course, the guy named E_Dilla on Twitter. He's the fan who has an insider and he tweets for fun, just cause. And he's broken news before all the reporters, before Rappaport, before Schefter, all those guys. But he has said that that Byron Leftwich, not Brian, Byron Leftwich is the early favorite to get the Jaguars coaching job, and which would be pretty interesting. Played there as a QB and comes back, or could be coming back to be the coach, but shouldn't be for sentimental reasons. Should be because he's been in the league for a while. He's been a great leader. He's really smart. Is designed a really good offense for Tom Brady and the Patriots, or not Patriots, but for the Bucks. So that's a great hire there if it happens. Curious, if they end up getting rid of Trent Baalke. I mean, I feel like they'd probably end up getting rid of him, and then you'd have Leftwich go out and pick somebody else. And like said before, it looks like Khan wants a coach centric model, meaning that the coach kind of has not necessarily all the power, but he's the guy at the head, and he wants a GM that he can kind of dictate, I guess, or at least give him the GM like a list of players to go out and get to construct the team that he wants on the field. So that's going to be a interesting matchup. If they can get somebody like Adrian Wilson, director of pro player personnel on the Cardinals right now, of course, had that connection with Leftwich being coach there and part of the front office. So we'll see what happens there. Don't think Bill O'Brien's going to be the guy. Don't think it's going to happen. So we'll see if who they hire, and hopefully it installs some energy into the fan base. And people already saying that they'll cancel those season tickets if Baalke's retained. So would like to see him get rid of, so that fans aren't going to divest the team and all that and everything. And of course, got all the other coaching changes. We saw the Texans fire their coach. Fortunately, it was a lame duck coach, and really, I mean, he did about as best as you could have in that situation, and then they let him go. So we'll see who Houston decides to pick up there. And then you've got who else? The Bears fired Matt Nakey. That was probably a given. I mean, a smart coach as far as offensive design, but I feel like they could have handled things, as far as handling players, probably could have handled situations a lot better and everything. And then Broncos changing their coach as well. Looks like they've interviewed Eric Bieniemy. They've interviewed Nate Hackett. We'll see if Nate Hackett can hack it somewhere, maybe in Jacksonville, maybe elsewhere. Dan Quinn, Kellen Moore, Gerard Mayo, of course, the former linebacker at the New England Patriots back in the day. And then the Dolphins, of course, letting go of Brian Flores, surprisingly, but now they want somebody else that meshes well with Tua Tagovailoa. And then the Vikings firing their coach, their GM, cleaning house. Giants also finally cleaning house, finally getting rid of Joe Judge. So a lot of changes in the NFL as year after year. The teams that are bad end up firing somebody and hiring somebody else. We'll see if, in fact, they can all get good hires and teams that can rebuild their franchise and possibly compete for the playoffs and everything. So we'll see. Hopefully the Jags end up getting the right guy to coach the team and lead the team.
8 coaching openings, which is crazy to think at this point. 1/4 of the league is looking for a head coach, which is just crazy to think. You have you have the teams that are just out: Broncos, Dolphins, Jags, Vikings, Raiders, Giants, Bears, and Texans. Those are the teams and that's something that we will see. I mean, in regards to, they said that this was going to show. Oh, so there you go. 8. There's it's Houston Texans job. I mean, the dysfunction they have in that organization is insane. They're not a good organization. The only thing I think they really have is probably a couple defensive players and Chris or anything. Yeah, Texans, they just don't have anything and they're just waiting on other people to come through. The Bears aren't that good either. New Nick Cena, the old Nick. Yeah. Cleveland Broncos. Then Las Vegas may move on from Derek Carr, but it's something
from the QB or from their coach.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. They're gonna move on from their coach. Possibly, depending on what happens on this playoff run. Bisaccia has done a good job to get him there. But it's possible. Broncos, you got rid of Vic Fangio, blamed him, even though they didn't draft well at times, and they don't really have a quarterback. They have Vikings. Yeah, Vikings is. I think the Vikings are the most ready-made because they have an established quarterback, they have an established running back, and a great, wide receiving offense. So if they wanted to go and bring somebody who is a offensive mind, I think it would probably be good for them. Jacksonville, I mean, Josh already went through it. I don't have to go because he knows it. Miami doesn't have a direction, doesn't have a coach, and doesn't really have a GM either. And then, that's the one picture. The Chicago Bears, of course, Justin Fields, but not a whole lot else on the offensive side. Montgomery was able to make some things happen, but then even he got hurt. The Houston Texans are proof where sons of rich people really are douchebags and they don't know what they're doing. And then Nick Caserio is also an idiot by firing Cully, not even just after getting off their whatever plane or bus. But I mean, that's just pretty bad. But we'll see what happens in regards to all these coaching vacancies and GM vacancies, and see where every person is relative to that. With that, I'll let Josh go and do the sim segment while I'm adjusting some things here.
Yeah, of course, the weekly sim segment and everything. We got iRacing, of course. I talked about it before. Did iRacing when the 94 podcast did iRacing last week at Talladega, then did some F1 testing at Watkins Glen. And like I said before, I found out I lack pace and I was driving. I mean, the acceleration of the car is great and everything, but the speed of the car is so much. And then once you get to the corner, you really have to pay attention to the braking zones and everything. And I feel like I missed the braking zones a bunch of times, especially in the boot. That's where it really counts. That's probably the most challenging part of the racetrack with an open wheel car. Um, the first turn and then the bus stop, is relatively simple. And then, of course, it may end up leading to equipment upgrades. We'll see, because the pedals that I have are like 10 years old now, and now they've made so many upgrades, because these pedals I have, they're part of the Logitech G27 pedal set and steering wheel set, and that's god, it's basically just like a spring uh inside, and uses a potentiometer resistor to measure the distance that the pedal travels to apply the amount of brake that you want. Whereas now we've got load cell brakes, we've got brakes that actually simulate the correct forces that you'd feel in a real car. And it allows you to brake more efficiently, and use brake pressure to brake the car, stop the car, and make it turn, rather than distance of how much input into the controller you give it. So could be an upgrade. Of course, have to plan for that type of purchase, but we'll see what happens for that. And then this week they are racing. I mean, the iRacing version of the Daytona Roar before the 24 is on this weekend. I don't know if I'll participate, but if I do, I mean, it should be an interesting one, and then at least give a good time to, I guess, get a feel if I want to do the Daytona Roar or Daytona 24. At least this one, you're only doing it for a couple of stints and everything, and actually have a chance to go use the restroom in the middle of this race, because Indy 500, Daytona 500 can't really do that, and end up having to go really bad once it's over and everything. But you got all those racings and everything on iRacing, and then Gran Turismo 7 going to be released soon on PlayStation, shall purchase, and they are bringing back Daytona International Speedway, and they released the trailer for that this week. Looks pretty good, so we'll see what it feels like in the game and everything, and looking forward to trying that one out and being able to play it and everything, see it on my TV, and be able to play Gran Turismo again. It's always been a fun game. Back in the day when on PlayStation 3, didn't buy the last couple of iterations, but it was always been a good game to play on the consoles for racing, and gives you, it's a bit of a different thing than the simulator like iRacing. It's got a little bit more features to it, and actually upgrade the cars and make changes to it and stuff, and the graphics are really amazing as well. So that's all I got right now for the sim racing segment.
Yep, and we'll get into it more next week on episode 95. Anything that comes up with the sim side, with Josh, and leading up to the war, as he mentioned, they're gonna have some events there. I bet for um, some sort of ability to go reward and things like that. Um, in regards to where we can find you, Josh, on social media, let us know where we can find you and find your um, chat, or I mean Discord, whatever thing that you have. The Because I'm thinking about Discord because of a friend of mine who was talking about going and doing podcasts on Discord, so I have to look into that. Let us know where we can follow you on the socials and elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, of course, and Discord. Well, I don't. I mean, that's a private one, but no, I mean, you can record on Discord, and there are voice channels, and it's very interactive and stuff. And if we get big enough, we can create a community on Discord and talk to people there. So that should be an interesting one. But as always, you can follow the streaming stuff always at Twitch TV/usailor2, YOUSAILOR2, all lowercase, no spaces in there. And then, of course, twitter.com at JP Huffine. See all the things I want to talk about on there: sports, racing, anything else that I'm interested in. That's where I go to discuss that. And we always go have discussion about the racing, about other things, and probably talk about a lot about the playoffs this weekend on that. So looking forward to all that and all the stuff that people are going to say about the games and everything. So it should be a fun weekend.
And you can find me at Philip G. Matthew on Twitter. You can find the Grip Strip Podcast on Twitter at Grip Strip Pod, capital G, capital S. capital P. The Grip Strip podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, Podbean, Pandora, um, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, TuneIn. I usually say is wherever you can find a podcast, you can find the Grip Strip podcast. We're basically everywhere. And we're 94 episodes in now. We thank you all for listening. I've had a rough week, obviously, but I plan on hopefully, God willing, being better. I thank Josh for coming on. I know he's dealing with stuff, and he does, as always, does the gives you the information you need, gives it in clear and concise, goes and picks me up when I need it too, which is awesome, which is what, why we're friends and why um, we have all the things that come from, this is a positive side of social media versus what social media in a lot of ways has become. So it's actually a good thing, this show. And I hope that you guys, whoever listens, gets a um, kick out of this, mainly out of my own mistakes and drunkenness because I'm zoning out and falling asleep or whatever the hell it may be. Uh, to Scott and Joey, the snakes got you. Um, Want to go and put that in there because we beat the number one team in the Tuesday league. Um, I think that was the first loss they've had in a couple months, and I didn't bowl horrendously. I'm not bowling as well as I was earlier. Kind of plateaued out, but getting 5 points off of them, probably could have had seven. Would be huge. We're kind of sort of back in the race for best of the rest in third. Monday league I'm not in anymore. Tuesday or Thursday league I'm in. Did pretty well. Beat some old ladies who don't even care. They were just sitting there yentering it up and on the phone, and then we took forever because Joey takes an hour and a half to bowl every frame, and then he got thrown out of the league because of a mask thing. Because the guy who runs the league decided to go and have a rage. The two of them decided to have a rage session with each other. It was kind of hilarious. We'll have more bowling stuff on here next couple of weeks because it's an anniversary of the first time I did bowl. So it will be on, depending on the situation, maybe on my birthday itself here in a couple of weeks' time, the Gripster podcast, or whatever it is. We might move it to Thursday. Probably will, or I mean, I actually can't be Thursday because
Well,
I'm
maybe
bowling.
Monday. Then you
It'll be
just
Monday. Yeah, it'll be a Monday show that week, and we'll preview football and all that. But before that, we're here. We thank you for listening. Thank you for following. Thank you for whatever promoting you're doing. My promotion, of course, is meager, but we do the best we can. We'll have these episodes out by the weekend, and you get to listen to them. Get to listen to me fucking up multiple times and zoning out because it's been a rough week, but it happens. Thanks to you, Josh, and for coming through, clutching it up like Trevor Lawrence did, and baptizing Carson Wentz and Frank Reich in a spot where they probably didn't want to have that happen. And hopefully my Niners can go out there and beat the Cowboys. It would be pretty cool. But we will see. It'll be a tough game. But I do think the Slime Bowl, because it is a Slime Bowl, will be the highest rated game of the weekend and might be the highest rated game in a long time that isn't the Super Bowl because of the both fan bases that both teams have. It'll be huge. And I'll be definitely consuming and probably be malfunctioning the same way as I did last week again this weekend. And hopefully, I'll be talking about it in a positive way and not a negative way, but we will see. You should see too. You should come back for episode 95 of the Grip Strip podcast. For Josh, I'm Phil. Thank you so much. Take care of one another. This thing is not going away. It may never go away, but the fact is, you can do the right thing. You can go and take care of your fellow, human. Just do the right thing. It's not that hard. Caring and sharing. Caring is sharing, but caring about one another is a fundamental part of life. And as we get to the late great Martin Luther King day, trying to be good to others matters. And no matter what you may feel or what you may think about somebody else, in the end, we're all in this world for a short time and should want to make the most of it and make the best of it, not denigrate or bring people down or trying to go and take things and make it worse, as our society has basically become. With that, take care, God bless, and good night.